Cart, you and I were off on Friday. We were at a golf outing together, and this usually happens when you and I take a personal day to do something fun outside of sleepers together. Very often, something happens in the sports world or in our internet universe that we wish we were able to just go live right then and have a conversation about. I think I've been waiting 72 hours to weigh in on the great debate between Braden Smith and Cassius Winston. That's 90% of my timeline over the week. I don't know why. I don't know why this happened over the weekend. I guess from trying to pinpoint it, this is because I think CBK Report did an all Big Ten decades team or of the 2020s, first team, second team, third team, all Big Ten players since 2020. Here you go. And Cassius Winston was named to the first team. He was the starting point guard. They did it positionally. Braden Smith was named to the second team. And on its own, perfectly fine decision. I think you and I are going to do, I don't know, our own version of filling out this team later this week on the Sleepers podcast. So we'll weigh in on that as well. But I think, naturally, Purdue fans were like, wait a second. Why isn't our guy, the guy who's about to maybe set the NCAA's all-time assist record, why isn't he the first team point guard? Rightfully so. Michigan State fans were like, well, Cassius Winston was better. And there you go. The debate weighs on. Rayfel Davis, I think, contributed to this becoming a bigger conversation, as did Ant Wright. Both of them jumped in and gave strong sides of opinions on this debate. For what it's worth, if I could summarize Rayfel's stance on this, he has Cassius ahead of Braden Smith right now. And it seems that what he keeps going back to as his reasoning for why Cassius would be ahead of Braden is that Cassius led a team to a Final Four. He doesn't feel that Braden on his own has done that. It was Zach Edey who led Purdue to the Final Four when Braden was a sophomore. So you can find all of this on your own. You can scroll your own timeline for the full debate. But like I said, I've mostly stayed out of this for 72 hours other than reading all of the various takes that fly back and forth. The basic core debate here is this, Cart. Who was better in college basketball, Cassius Winston or Braden Smith? It's time to weigh in. What are your thoughts?
First off, my favorite time of the off season, because if it wasn't for the fact that the good folks over at YouTube, who we love by the way, who were 100% in the right by striking us down, you could search on our YouTube channel Braden versus Cassius videos, and I think we have done this like once a year because it seems like a talking point every now and then. Like everyone wants to bring it up because when you talk about the great point guards in the Big Ten, I think that both of those players are firmly in that discussion. Um, and I think they're firmly top five at the top wherever you want to place them, right? There's a lot of different points that come from each side. I feel like I've been very adamant in the fact that, when it comes down to it, I pick Cassius, but I'm also very much like a realist when it comes to this. It's almost like not a fair question to me just because of like the legit like emotional attachment I have to Cassius as a Michigan State basketball player. I feel disrespectful putting someone ahead of him just because of how he is and what his standing is to me. So the thing is like Braden has one more full year of basketball left where there is so much that he could accomplish in this year. Like they are the preseason number one team. He could be national player of the year. He could do all these things, which by the way, if those things do happen, he is going to be ahead of Cassius. And I'm gonna have to be okay with that. And I have to come to grips with that. Now, am I still personally gonna take Cassius? Yeah. Like at some point I gotta let my little Michigan State stuff shine through here. But if Braden accomplishes what he's basically supposed to do this season, it's gonna be hard, I think, for people not to put him ahead of or it's gonna be hard for people not to put him ahead of Cassius who don't currently have him ahead, I think.
Yeah. Okay.
And look, I love Raphael. A really good person, nice guy, all that. Like honestly, I love the conversation that he starts and brings and the takes that he has, right? I appreciate him as a basketball mind. The only part that doesn't necessarily align with me is the whole like Braden Smith was along for the ride his sophomore year. Because I just don't think that was the case. Like I understand Edie was that great, but like the whole like led his team argument, it just loses a little bit for me because it feels like Braden was just like riding coattails when he was a massive part of that team.
Sure. I don't think I don't want to put those words in Rafe's mouth just because I think that's a little different. Like I don't think he's saying he was riding coattails. He knows he's an important piece of it. But I do think there's some truth to Rafel's general point that looking back on Cassius's career, the years where Cassius would have been a complementary piece were not Michigan State's most successful years. They had good regular seasons, but the years that Miles Bridges and Jaren Jackson were there were not the years that they made Final Four runs. And Cassius was, I mean, he was good, but Cassius was the third or fourth best player on those teams. So, I think you almost got to look at it year by year to me. It's hard to compare a 4-year career to a 3-year career at this point. And obviously, the circumstances at the end of Cassius's career make this extra difficult. But Cassius did the one pinnacle year here. If you are debating who had a better career, it is hard to argue that Cassius's junior season, where he was a consensus first team All American, he was an AP first team All American. There's big Purdue accounts arguing that Cassius was never an All American, and that's their biggest argument against him. He was an AP first team All American as a junior, and they beat the most loaded, talented Duke team we've ever seen with Zion and RJ in the Elite Eight to go to a Final Four. And
Mhm.
Cassius was the driver of it. He was the Zach Edey on that team. He was with a freshman Aaron Henry and what a sophomore Xavier Tillman, junior Xavier Tillman at that point. It was not a loaded roster. So I guess again, I don't think you should use rosters against him. But if you were assigning like leadership, how good is your team when it's your team? Cassius at Michigan State, his junior year, way better season than Braden Smith's Purdue season as a junior. But again, you could flip the argument and be like, well, Braden's teams were better when Braden was complimentary. Why didn't Cassius's teams win more when he was a freshman and sophomore? Which is something I've used to argue against Cassius for years, as you've heard me do. Like for whatever reason, the history books have remembered Cassius as this impeccable winner when the first half of his career, he didn't make a Sweet 16. He
Mhm.
had Miles Bridges for 2 years and Jaren Jackson for a year and did not make a second weekend. But because of COVID at the end and because he went out with his one good run, he's remembered as this impeccable winner. The reality is, Braden winning 5 NCAA tournament games as a sophomore isn't that matching what Cassius won in his whole career? He won 4 his junior year. He won 1 his sophomore year. And he didn't win a game his freshman year, right?
Did he win?
Did
No, because they
they
lost in the
lose to
first round, right?
Kansas? To Josh Jackson, I think, in the first round that year?
Wait, did they lose in the first round that year?
Maybe I'm tripping on that. Did they win a year? Or did they win a game?
They might have. I might want to double check that. But yeah, you
Let's
know,
look back at this. This was what, 18, 17?
yeah. I mean, also like
17. They
don't.
beat Miami. So
Okay, that's what.
Cassius had 6 total NCAA tournament wins. Braden has, I mean, more than that, but 5 as a sophomore, had 2 more this year, 7. So
Yeah, wait. They beat Miami, and then the year they lost to Syracuse, they won one game, right? They beat
they
Bucknell in
beat
the first
Bucknell.
round.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, I don't.
And then, but then again, COVID robbed him of the final chance. So
Yeah, and then that's a whole other. I mean, also like I don't know. I feel like I'm in this weird spot too, where it's hard to put one above the other when there's not like a complete resume. Like that's the thing. Braden Smith has a whole nother year of basketball left where he's gonna be great.
right.
So it's like I mean, this could mean a lot for the argument and the legacy of Braden too. Like I think his legacy is pretty much stamped as far as Purdue circles and even Big Ten because it's probably going to break a lot of records. But there could be the awful scenario, which I don't think is going to happen, where things don't go according to plan this year, and it just doesn't end the way that people think it's gonna end.
Yeah, so I think that's a great point. I think here's how I would frame this. You kind of have two ways of looking at it. Who was greater? To me, that's like career accomplishments. Who's had the better career? And I don't think we can have that conversation until Braden's career is over. Right? So if we're trying to define just straight up who is the greater college basketball player, you can either look at their careers through 3 years or you can wait a year and then look at the whole sum of it. But again, hard to do that because of the circumstances of Cassius's final year, which I honestly would like to even lay out a little more for any Purdue fans that don't know in just a moment. But if that's the approach we're doing, who is greater? I would say let's wait a year and have that conversation. Then there's the second side of this, which is just this. And I don't think you and I have hit on it yet. You are a Michigan State fan, so you can answer this however you like. Who was better? Right? Because like this, I think that's what this exercise really is just which hoop are you taking? Braden Smith or Cassius Winston? That's like an aesthetic thing. That's a vibe thing. That's just a belief thing. It's not necessarily what do the numbers say. That's a whole separate conversation. Who is greater? It's just who are you handing the ball to? Who is better?
See, that's exactly what I started off by saying though. Like I'm not putting him above Cassius. I'm sorry, I can't.
Why? To lay that out for people that wouldn't understand it.
Well, one, like as a Michigan State fan, Cassius is my favorite player of all time. Like not only for like what he did for the university, but like given the circumstances of what he had going on personally and the tragedy he had to endure and what he was still able to do for Michigan State through that trip. Like it was inspirational in what he did. And it was like a euphoric feeling being a Michigan State fan during that time. And the emotional connection like you felt to Cassius was like real. And look, I like if someone came to me and was like, I want Braden because I think Braden's a better defender than Cash, or I think Braden is, which he is too, by the way. Like I
Is
love,
by the
I
way,
love
that's
Cat,
the
I love Cash. Cash was a cone.
I think the opposite was being argued this weekend too. I think I'm pretty sure I saw a Rayfeld tweet about how Cassius was ahead of Braden defensively.
I don't think either of them are good defensively, but Cash was definitely a worse defender than Braden
I would
was.
argue Braden's gotten to a point he is pretty good defensively. I mean, it's very like use his mentals off ball, gamble for steals stuff, but
Yeah, it's kind of like I don't
he
know. I have a
impacts
hard.
the game.
Yeah, it impacts the game. It's like but it's like in the NBA, like people are like, oh well, Harden's not a bad defender. He leads the league in steals. It like gets to that point of it.
Yeah, true. True.
Um, but then passing wise, like yes, Braden's going to break the passing record. They're both, I think, exceptional passers. Is the what's the difference, I guess, between them as passers?
I would be okay to say passing is identically elite, but man, Braden is on pace to break the record. So if you are going to give someone the nod, I would think it's a slight lean Braden, but to my gut says they're identically elite passers.
This is all Tum Tum's fault.
Why? Oh, you Tom got in the way? Yeah.
Yeah. Um, I'm trying to like actually because Braden had like big time turnover issues, at least not big time, but he did flip the ball a lot. Was Cash ever like a really high turnover guy?
Without looking at the numbers in front of me, I'll pull them up just to fact check it. I think Braden's turnover issues were probably worse. Cassius has got higher and higher as his career went on, though. 3.2 turnovers as a senior.
Yeah, damn, for real.
What was Braden at? Braden's are also going higher, 2 to 3. So yeah,
Yeah,
I
I
don't I
mean,
don't see much of a difference.
yeah.
Both
Look,
great shooters.
yeah,
I would argue Cash was a better scorer than Braden. I
right, but
think
that's also I feel like mentality why like Cash wanted to more or needed, I guess needed to honestly,
probably,
which
probably.
is which is a whole nother situation. Like I think Cash and Braden's roles are extremely different.
This video is brought to you by NBA 2K Labs. or maybe college football labs? Because the people behind 2K Labs have just built something awesome. CFBLabs.com has everything you need to play college football 26 even better. Cart, you've been playing the game, right?
I have been, but I'm behind the eight ball, Gregory. There's a lot of people out there who got a little bit of edge on me, but the good folks over at 2K Labs got me covered. They got the playbooks I need, the plays, the head-to-head coaches, knowing some teams. Obviously, way too many college football teams. I need the inside edge here, and they got all different types of things to help me get that edge.
Yeah, I jumped in and started playing Road to Glory over the weekend, and I ended up like a two-star recruit that did not get one snap in season one because I chose the wrong school with the wrong roster that was way too loaded. Had I known that CFBLabs.com exists, I would have made a much more wise decision in my Road to Glory mode. They've got teams, playbooks, coaches, team comparison tools. You can literally see every single play in the game, every player in the game, their rating, what they're good at, all in one consolidated place online to help you make the right choices and win more games in college football 26. CFBLabs.com. Go check it out.
But that goes back to like the, argument about are you playing with playing with Zach Yee is a whole different beast than playing with, what Michigan State had.
Jaron Jackson.
Yeah.
Little is that a little different there?
Yeah, Ben Carter.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
yeah. Okay.
Nick Ward,
All
Xavier
right. So
Tillman.
here's where I'm at.
Go ahead and get to it. Go ahead and
No,
get to it.
this is where I'm at. I think this is it's a good debate. It's a worthwhile debate worth having. This is not one of those like stupid offseason things that we're weighing in just for the fun of it or being stupid. I think this is actually like a really thoughtful conversation. And I think it should be done respectfully. And for the most part, from what I've seen, it has been done respectfully. I don't feel that we've properly laid out the stakes of Cassius's final year enough. And maybe there are Purdue fans weighing in on this debate that don't remember it or were unaware of it at the time. I want to be as clear about this as possible of why this is a difficult conversation to actually have. Cassius Winston finished his junior year making a Final Four. Didn't they win the Big Ten that year too?
Yeah.
You're positive of that? Let me make sure.
Wait, was it the tournament or the
Yeah,
actual
they went 16-4. They won the Big Ten.
Yeah.
So Cassius Winston, as a junior, wins the Big Ten, wins the Big Ten tournament, two banners already, at a third, makes a Final Four, beats the greatest Duke team, the most hyped team we've ever seen, and loses in the Final Four to Texas Tech in a heartbreaker. Fine. Great season, unbelievable season. Three banners in a year. That's his junior year. He comes off his junior year, Card. It was remarkably similar to the hype that Purdue has right now. If you could go in a time machine and remember it, the preseason number one team going into Cassius' senior year was Michigan State. The preseason national player of the year going into Cassius' senior year was Cassius Winston. The only difference was that they were coming off a year of actually doing it. They weren't coming off a year of finishing fourth in the Big Ten. They weren't coming off a year of losing in the Big Ten tournament quarterfinals. They weren't coming off a year of losing in the Sweet 16. He had done it. And that's kind of Ray Fell's point, right? And then
Hmm.
again, reminder, this is where it all went extremely personally tragic. Like, for those that don't know, Cassius Winston's brother took his own life a week before the season started or into the season.
In the season. Yeah, like I think after probably like I think the second game, maybe third game.
And I know we're not like even we don't want to like sit here and say it, but this is just like the reality of the circumstances of what Cash had to do when that moment happened. I mean, we all would have forgiven him if he just ended his career. Like, take
Hmm.
months off, take the season off, and instead, I think he missed like a game. And his return to the Breslin Center was like one of the more spiritual experiences I've ever witnessed.
Yeah.
Like the way the community rallied around him, the way Cassius, I think, found comfort in doing what he loved and was good at. And I mean, it was just the most emotional thing I've ever seen on a Division One basketball court, watching this awesome kid, awesome person go through a tragedy like that. Meanwhile, dealing with the expectations of being the number one team in the country and the National Player of the Year pick. Like, I would never put that on anyone, let alone that guy in that moment in that year. And then you add that entire tragedy to the fact that his season ended with the postseason being canceled with COVID.
Mm.
It is an all-timer for one player to have to go through either of those things. Imagine if Braden Smith's career got cut short in that way. Just the
Mm.
COVID side. I'm not talking the family side of it, but like both. That is what Cash has had to endure. And one way or another, it makes it impossible to compare his legacy with anyone else's. For both from an emotional standpoint, because just point blank, no Michigan State fan will ever choose any other player over him because
Mhm.
of what he went through and did. And it makes sense. It's deserved. And then on the other side, just logistically, it's not fair. If Braden Smith wins a national championship this year, we can't hold that against Cassius because
Mhm.
he didn't have a chance to do it. So we can really only evaluate the games that Cash has played his senior year. But even those, are we really supposed to look at the games Cash has played when he's mourning a death of a sibling the entire season and be like, well, he didn't play his best? You can't do that, right? Like,
Yeah.
not you straight up cannot evaluate it. So in that sense, it's gonna be really hard to rule on this in the end because the larger point for me is this: where this is headed is that Braden Smith absolutely, I think for the first time since Cassius Winston, he's the first player that has a chance to take the mantle of best point guard in the Big Ten in the 2020s since Cassius. What does he need to do it? You could define this however you want. People will have different definitions. My different definition of this is this. If he wins a national championship, he is the undisputed best point guard. I don't know how you could argue that. If he does what Raphael is saying he hasn't done yet, if he leads Purdue to the mountaintop after Zach Edey left it, that's how you remember him. I've said this in other videos. I think if he does that, if he wins a national championship, he's a greater Boilermaker than Edey. And that sounds crazy. But if Braden Smith is the National Player of the Year on a national title team of his own doing, if he goes further than Edey did and sets the NCAA's assist record, I straight up don't know how you could argue that Edey had a better career than Braden. So, like, all of that's in front of him, right? But he has to do it. And I think if we're sitting here right now on July 21st in the offseason trying to weigh in on this debate that Ant and Raphael and everyone else is doing, the only proper way to do it right now for me would be to evaluate through 3 years of their career. That means you ignore the tragic senior year of Cassius and you ignore the year that hasn't happened yet for Braden. And you just look at from freshman to sophomore to junior who had the better career. That's easy for me at this point.
It's Cash, right?
It's Cassius.
Yeah, especially because like, you and I have talked about this, like, and we talk about it that I mean, you kind of just alluded to it. The run that Cash had his junior year, like with all the accolades plus what he like, this was 19 and 8 a game.
Yeah.
19, and I'm rounding up there. So 18.8, 7 assists, 7.5 assists, 46% from the field, 40% from three. Like
He was unstoppable.
yeah, it was incredible. Plus everything else on top of that, right? So yeah, like I think you're fair to say that. And look, I think Braden has a whole nother year left. And like I said, Cash's assist numbers took a dip his senior year. Um, he did improve his 3-point percentage, but also like his field goal percentage took like a percentage dip. So yeah, it's I feel like that's fair to do. You do it the 3 year sample size. It is. It also sucks that and actually you probably can't use this, but I'm just giving you like a look inside like what my head's going through here. It is part Cassius's slash Michigan State's fault that he played 20 minutes a game his freshman year, right?
100%.
Like that is part of it. It's just hard to do when, Braden, since the minute he stepped into Purdue, it has been start 30 minutes a game
But
from the
that's
moment
Point
he stepped
Braden.
on campus.
But that is Point Braden.
Yes, that is point Braden. That's what I'm
Yeah,
just it sucks though that is, the case. But like I said,
for sure.
I think you're correct in doing the look at it in a 3 year sample size thing, what it looks like.
I mean, yeah, if we're going year by year, Braden was better than Cassius as a freshman. pretty undeniably.
Yeah.
I would argue Braden wins the sophomore year because that was the year he went to the title game, right? So I don't know
Mhm.
how you could argue Cassius' sophomore year was better than Braden's,
And their numbers were similar.
and their numbers were similar. Junior year elevates Cash ahead of Braden for me. It just does. Again, they both were going to come into a senior year with the same accolades. The difference is Cassius did lead his team to a Final Four the way Rafe said, and he had the great numbers you laid out. So again, this is something I've told you because we've had Cassius Winston conversations separate of Braden for years, right? You know this. One of my biggest pet peeves is that looking back on it, it seems that all Michigan State fans remember that year as the year that they were going to win the title. And it kind of drives me crazy because the reality is the product on the floor just wasn't that good. You were like the
Mhm.
12th best team in the sport per Ken Palm. You weren't number one when COVID hit. But I get why emotionally there's this attachment to that. You thought Cassius was just going to elevate you and take you there. And they had ended the season really strong. So I totally get it. But I'm going to use a line that I have used on Cassius for years, and I'm going to apply it to Braden here. You cannot give someone credit for things they haven't actually done yet. Cassius did not make a Final Four his senior. He didn't get a chance, right? You can't give him credit for something that didn't happen. And just because, I know you got something, I'll throw it back to you in a second. Just because Braden is the preseason National Player of the Year on the preseason number one team, who is on pace to set the NCAA assist record, doesn't mean it's going to happen. I hope it does. I'm betting that it does, but Cassius had all of those accolades.
Mhm.
Cassius did not fulfill them. Now, there were crazy circumstances on why, but Braden has to get across the finish line. And if he does, none of us will deny it anymore. You're not going to see Ray Fell come on here and argue that a Braden Smith that leads a team to a title it isn't good enough. But the Braden Smith that led last year's Purdue team led them to a year with no banners. And I
Mhm.
think that is the reality here. And in Cassius's one season that ended in a postseason run on his own team, they went home with three banners. Like that has to matter here, you know?
Mhm. Yeah. Two things. Um, One, it is kind of crazy how eerily similar it is, like the leading into the senior season thing. Like
Identical.
it is like identical. That's crazy. I didn't even think about that. Two, it actually has nothing to do based on what you said, but I wanted to know if this counts. Do we get to hold it against him at all that Braden lost to a 16 seed?
I would say the sweet or the 16 seed loss feels pretty much like it cancels out Cassius's two losses.
You think? Because I'm putting like it does. It is similar in a sense, but it's just like you had the National Player of the Year and you lost to a 16 seed as
Yeah.
were they the number one overall seed that year?
You know how I feel about the Syracuse game. I'm not going to say that's as bad as losing to a 16. And the difference is like Braden bounced back from losing to a 16 to a title appearance, something Cassius never did, right?
Right. Yeah.
So you can't overly harp on his one freshman tragic loss to
Right.
me. But yeah, it's a fair point. It's absolutely the worst postseason moment of either of these guys' careers was Braden Smith's first postseason. I would like to say this one interesting point I don't feel like anyone's made or we haven't discussed yet. I feel like the idea that Braden Smith got to play with Zach Edey and then now is getting to play with Trey Kaufman-Renn is being used against him a little bit. Like I think that was one of the undertones of Rafe's is like, well, I mean, Braden's only played with all American front courts. What has he elevated? Are we not going to give Braden any credit for helping make his front court guys look great?
Yeah. That's fact.
Like when Jaden Ivey was in the backcourt, was Zach Edey doing that?
Yeah, that's fact.
I know how you feel about Trey Kaufman-Renn. Like, is he one of the greatest talents we've ever seen, or does he get to play with Braden Smith?
Oh, he is.
He is. Okay.
He is, yeah.
All right. Well, I'm just like I feel like it's greatly diminishing Braden's impact on those guys to be like Braden just gets to play with some killers. Like no, Braden has made both those guys into killers by being a genius. And Edie would have been great regardless, but Braden definitely had a huge hand in making Zach Edey look how he looks.
Yeah, 100%. Who's the third point guard that is pissed that this it always gets left out of this this discussion?
Boo Booey was on the sheets. Io DeSumo was a first teamer on this exercise. I think Rafe was arguing that Boo would be his first team point guard, by the way, or maybe
I,
on the first team over Io.
yeah, I think he did.
So I don't hate that. I mean, that's our guy too. These are three of our guys: Cassius Winston, Braden Smith, Boo Booey. So I would like to make it clear, Budarius, I love you. You belong nowhere near this conversation.
Hey.
Nowhere near.
Have some shame, please.
There's levels. There are two all-timers that we've seen in the 2020s. It's Cassius Winston and it's Braden Smith, and they are compared for a reason, my friend. The important question is this: when this season ends, will this still be a debate? Yes or no?
Uh, I don't think so because I think Braden's gonna win. I think Braden's just gonna accomplish so much this season.
Yeah, I think. I mean, barring its own immense tragedies that we don't see coming here, I think Braden's going to deliver what Cassius could not.
Yeah, and I don't think it's gonna be if he makes another Final Four, I feel like it's not even up for debate.
I think that would still be up. I think a title, like he just win it
If he replicates exactly what Cassius's junior year was, you
as a
think,
senior
yeah,
and sets the record, the assist record.
and maybe wins National Player of the Year,
Yeah. What if he has the same senior year as Cassius? Then what?
like with tournament.
Not a first team All American. I guess that's hard to say because the tournament's going to be played. We're not going to have another pandemic, but
We'll check back in for the video. We'll have
check
it.
back in there. All right.
We'll have it.
All right.